Yesterday I buy you my phone. Oh, you think I'm your good boyfriend? Yeah, what you said? You say you got us. You know you said I'm not better. Oh, he's only for nothing to kiss you.
Yes, welcome on board today. Again, my wonderful viewers. I'm sure you're enjoying it just as you're seeing it now. Today we'll be talking about the Scratch DNA. Yes, the Scratch DNA is an interesting concept that was being translated from the original turntables now to the virtual DJ software that gives you that flexibility to use your ability to manipulate this keyboard to get that flexibility in the Scratch, just the way you do it on the usual turntable where you scratch and play around with the crossfader. But in the case of the virtual DJ, you don't necessarily need to be playing around with the crossfader that much. You might decide to use the cut effect while you are doing it so that it translates it just as if you are playing around with the crossfader. And before you go into it, you first need to understand the concept of the language of the Scratch. That is, in the case of the virtual DJ, they use alphabet to combine with other necessary features to give it exactly what you want. So the capital letters are used to give you an audio effect scratch, while the small letters are used to give you a scratch. But in this case, while you are moving the crossfader, you are closing it completely. So while you are moving the turntable, you are closing the crossfader. That means you are muting it. Just as when you are moving it forward, let me stop this beat. Let's assume this is it. This song is on the turntable. If I am moving it forward, you are hearing it. But in the event where if I want to move it back, if I move this crossfader, this is the crossfader to this other side of the divide. If I move it, you see, you are not hearing any sound. So that is what the small letter does. The capital letter moves the crossfader forward and makes the sound available, while the small letter moves it either forward or in any of the direction, but muting the crossfader or muting the level of that particular deck. So let's have a clear view or understand what the crossfader does. Let's take a look at a good example of what the crossfader effect looks like. This is an example. I'll be explaining it. This is a scratch from the DNA from the machine. That is the inbuilt one that came with it. I will first start with it before I'll go to the one I introduce at my own pace so that you understand it. You see, so there is forward scratches and backward scratches. At some point it is audible, at some point it is not audible. Let's see at what point is it audible and at what point it is not audible. This is it. So as I right click on it, let me zoom a bit for you to see. So this is it. If you look at it, we have letter C, we have letter A, followed by D, followed by A, then the full stop, then another A, E, then A, E, then A. So what this means here is letter C means we are scratching forward from this point. Look at it, we are scratching forward, we are moving it to letter C. That is why we have the first letter C here. So we are scratching forward to letter C, then we are bringing it back to the starting point, which is letter A. That is why you have this other line back. So and then we are now scratching forward again. At this point we are moving the turntable to a more further distance beyond the C, which is the starting point for the first one, which is the first point that we took it to during the first scratch. At this point we are now taking it forward again from the A, which is this A that we are having here. We are now moving it to D. That is why you see at this level we have D. Then we are now bringing it back to our original starting point, which is A. That is the start of the point again. At this point, if you look at it, there are lines. At this point we have covered the first part of the beat. That is why it is this way. The reason why it is this way is if you use only 2-3 alphabets, most of the time when you are conducting your scratches, you will notice that it will not give you fast scratches, but as you increase the number of the letters, you notice that the scratch pattern continue to increase. Then after that A, you now have a full stop. That is why you have this first line. That is the end of the first part of the first beat. That is why we have it, this line here. That is why you have a full stop. So if we remove this full stop, you notice that it might likely extend. You see, can you see it? It has extended itself. It covered the whole of this scratch pattern is conducted within the range of the first beat, which is within this circumference here, within this area. So let's bring back the full stop. So whenever you are putting a full stop, you are introducing the end of a beat. That means the scratch should be done within a particular range. So this full stop will determine how fast the scratches will be done and how slow it will be done, which is also in line with the number of alphabet you have introduced. If you add more alphabet before this full stop, you notice that the beat pattern, that means the distance in which it will be covered, the time in which it will be done, it will be more. So in this case, we have E, which is another start of the point here. That is since it ends at A, we'll now start from here again, from A here to E, then back to A, then to A again, to back to A, then to E again, then continuously we'll continue to repeat. That is why if you look at it, in this case, all our sounds here are audible. All the movement of our turntable is audible. That is why, let me click it so that you hear it. You will notice, you will see here, that is baby scratch 1. You see? So forward, backward, forward, backward, forward, backward, forward, backward. They are all audible. Let me try to amend one thing. I will change this A. I will change this A to a small letter A so that you hear it. You are going back to small letter A. You notice something happened with the cough. As soon as I remove the A, instead of our scratch, that means when we took it from A to C, instead of it coming back to A, which is the initial point where the scratch, that is the backward scratch, was done, it continued to D. That is why the line went up. That means when we take it to A, we now continue moving it to another level again, which is D. That is why it have a curve here. The moment I introduce any alphabet, the line will go to where that particular alphabet is. So if I take it to any alphabet that is higher than C, it will become a forward scratch. If I take it to any alphabet that is lower than C, it will become a backward scratch. Let me put B there so that you see it. You see, when I put it on B, it became a backward scratch. If I remove it and I put it on E, you see, it became a higher scratch. That means a continuation of the C. So we initially have A here, which is this particular A, which is the A that we have here. So that is it. So that is the initial A that was here. So can you see it? Let me close it now. Then I will run it again. I will run it again for you to see. Let me run it again. So this is it. So you see, okay, I haven't amended it. Let me amend it now. So this is it. CA. Let me change the A at this point now to a smaller A. So this is it. You can see the line is no longer showing, which means when we take the crossfader forward, when we are bringing it back, it should be mute. That means our returning back will not be audible. So let me save it. Baby scratch 1. Okay. Let me stop the song. So this is it again. Let me start it again. You see? You see? This is it. You see? Forward, back. The forward is not heard again. You see? At this point, the first forward move is heard, but the backward move is not heard. Then the next sound is being heard. That is why it's the way it is. So I think from this little introduction, you now have a little understanding of what all these things are done. So let me go back to the original. Let me save it back to its original state. Baby scratch 1 though. So when you're able to do it this way, you can use it this way by right clicking on the scratch, which is from this point, then click on the editing. Then if you come this way, after doing it, maybe you want to practice a pattern. After you practice the pattern from here and you get exactly what you want, you can just copy it like this. When you copy it, then you will now come to your virtual DJ mapping. At this point, we will be using the mapper now. We want to use our keyboard shortcut to do it. In this case, let me use one of the alphabet. This is it. I'm using Ctrl R, but let me use the normal cursor. Okay, alternate. I'm looking for any key. I don't have any function attached to it yet. I have Ctrl close bracket. So let me save it. If I save it here, I will now come down here and put scratch underscore DNA. Then remember, I want to say something about programming, that for you to really do anything in programming, since this information is a flexible information, in programming it is referred to as argument. So since it is an argument, it will need to be in a quotation mark. That is why we introduce quotation mark to it. You can see it. There are double quotation mark at the start of the command, and then as well as where this argument is. This scratch DNA is a command, but this is how we want it to be executed. So in this case, when we are done with it, we will now save it. We will now come to our save, then close. Then if I go on Control, you see it. So you can see how the command was clearly executed right now. So from this point, I will go to my own scratch, this very particular one I'm using. Look here, hear the sound. So I have a pattern I've introduced, which is the one I'm using. Let me show you the script. I'm actually using this particular command. That is it. This is it. So let me zoom it. I'm going to explain everything here. So this is it. This is the command scratch underscore DNA. So this is the alphabet. That means the pattern. I want to have a forward scratch, that is a very sharp forward scratch, then a backward scratch, which is audible, another forward scratch which is not up to the first forward scratch, which is audible, then a backward scratch, which is the A, which is mute, it will not be audible, then the D again, that is repetition, which is audible, then another A, which is not audible, that is backward, this is forward again, D, which is audible, then A, which is not audible. Then all this scratch, all this first part of the scratch, which is from A to this small, from E to this small A before the full stop, is going to be done within 1 beat. That is why you hear it, the pattern is very fast. Then after that, we'll now move to E again, then which is audible. At this point, this last part are audible. The forward scratch that is audible, the backward scratch that is audible, which is A, then D, which is not very audible, which is also audible but not as sharp as A, then A, which is audible. That is the end of the scratch. Then I now add some commands. These commands are not too relevant, but you can play around with it. Depends on what you want to do with it. These ones are optional. So I now add another command, which is AND, which is a combination of commands. Now I'm adding another command to the scratch DNA, which means at the point when I press this control button, it does all these scratches, but at any point in time where as soon as up I leave this button, it asks for the state of the button. Once the button is up, it executes hotkey 1. That means it starts the song at a particular point where I mark hotkey 1. That is why it is the way it is. Don't worry, I'm going to demonstrate it for you to see. I have a host of other features which are added here, which is deck 1 effect underscore active chord, which this command takes care of turning off the chord effect. Then the deck 1, which is effect underscore active chord, this command also turn on the chord effect. This chord effect is executed on the deck that is active, which means the default deck which is doing the scratches, the other one will be cutting. That means it will be doing as if you are playing around with the crossfader. The voice will be coming up and going down. We are going to demonstrate it with this particular effect now so that you see it by yourself. So let's go back to it again. Let me close it. So this is it. So this is the song. You see, at this point, this first one I did, it was long enough. I'm going to do another one. I'm going to leave it. I will not allow the scratch to be completed. You see, it does it only twice, and then the scratch starts from the beginning. So look at my hand here. This is the control, the button that I attach the command to it. Look at it. You see, I allow it to complete. At this point, I will not allow it to complete. Anyway, I leave it to just start the song. You see? So it's like I did something like this. So you see? Don't worry. I'm sure you'll be wondering what this letter N is doing. Don't worry. I'm going to show you the command that is attached to this letter N. That is the stab scratch. It's a common feature that is being used. Stab scratch. You should know this, how to use stab scratch very well. This is down. This is the command. Sorry, this video is taking longer than necessary, but I'm sure it's really worth it as you are watching it. This is letter N, which I just showed you. Look at it. Down, scratch plus 60 microseconds. That means if you scratch forward 60 microseconds, then go to Q1 and level 0%. In this point, I'm doing the scratch and I'm returning back to my original starting point, which is the Q1, without playing the song. That is why it is done that way. Then I have my letter J. Sorry, my letter J. My letter J takes care of starting the song just like normal hot Q or Q underscore play. That is why you have this Q underscore play. This other command, don't worry about it. The actual command here is Q underscore play. These other commands, I use them to play around with the crossfader, the volume of the deck, so you can look at it in detail. It's not too necessary for this video. This video is talking about stab scratch, scratch DNA, that is scratching forward and backward and playing around with the crossfader. So let's continue. Let me close it now again. So you can see it. So look at it. So that is it in detail. So continue to enjoy yourself. Don't forget to like. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to keep a date with me, so that I'll continue to give you more. Don't worry, there will be so much to learn, and I'll always be there for you to give you more than the way you think you know. The DJ world is an interesting world. You continue to learn. The learning process is endless. My next video will be another wow one, so keep a date, more mixes. Continue to enjoy yourself. Thank you very much for always being there. Your comment, suggestion, whatsoever you have. Thank you very much.
Yesterday I buy you my phone. Oh, you take a big ugly boyfriend. Yeah, boy, you say you better slow. You know today I buy you Ferrari. Oh, he said the Ferrari, I see them they kiss you. Oh, now which way?
I start to face. I'm oh.
Things you do me every day, baby, me and I let them go. I start to left. Yeah, you they kill me, yeah. Things you do me every day, baby, now I let you go. Yeah. They say they go see mama, yeah. I say okay, baby, not with you. Same day I dey walk along the beach road, I see them they hold you. One bad side, the guy they kiss you, they give you one corner. I start to left.
record. Yeah, man. Bring that body now, make her run.